Do you enjoy branding and different ways that they create their voice among many? I do too. So for today's video, I want to take you through my creative process. So come along as we build a brand from scratch. Okay, so let me set up the stage for the project we're going to be working on. I always choose projects on topics that I'm currently passionate about or excited to kind of dive into. So, in this case, I have just watched this amazing documentary called Common Ground that was on Amazon, all about regenerative farming. So, I knew I wanted my project to be about regenerative farming. At least that would be the topic for it. So, coming up with the name as part of the process, I think, is fun, but it's also challenging as well. And at times, I go through um, kind of the process of a word dump and then a mind map. So I put words that come to mind about the topic. It could be any word on your list. Then I start using word combinations to see what sounds and feels right for the project. So I chose Only Home Farm, because I knew a big part of what they were going to be about is educating and letting the public know that they're to be reminded that our only home is Earth. And we have to work together with a new way that no longer follows what was normal. So, in order for us to see the change and live in it for future generations, all of this that I shared is related to what I call the brand story. This can help with creating cool mock ups later or those touching points that make a difference for the brand. An important part of this creative story is having at least three words to describe the brand's value and personality. So in this case, Only Home's values were advocacy, people, and environment/planet. Their personality was unique, disruptive, and bold. So knowing that helped me making sure that the mood board would cater to be in this direction, especially when gathering a lot of those examples and those images that you want for your brand. So that's step one. Now let's jump in on my computer and kind of get started on the mood board so I can show you what we're going to be working on. Okay, so here I have just the list of all those brain dump, and then on the back I have the name that I finalized, Only Home. Okay, so here we're inside of Adobe Illustrator, and I wanted to show you my mood board and also kind of just show you my thought process when working on this. So you'll see that I have different little sections labeled out for illustration, main, pattern, typography. And so earlier I just showed you that illustration that had wonderful texture, and then this one, the same with the pattern, is I want to draw inspiration and different ideas that I could use. In this case, I'm thinking about plants, vegetables, and garden elements for the pattern that I might want to work on. I like the way it's laid out in this grid pattern. So yeah, I'm very much kind of thinking I want to do some type of pattern for that. And then typography wise, one, I'm thinking about texture, but I'm also thinking about kind of that thick, bold. Yeah, this font I don't think I would use, but this one is a wonderful example of the thick chunkiness to this font that adds to that very organic part of what this one is, Nature by, but for Only Home. And then for photography, I love these little bits of shapes, and this is where I can take from those pattern elements and put the photography coming through it, which I really did enjoy. And then I start kind of heading into type, and what I like to do is I like to use the retype function in Adobe to see fonts that might be similar to, and if I have within the Adobe fonts. And so here I'm just kind of going through a few. Again, this is called retype, and what it does is it tries to match different fonts that might be within your current font library, as well as your Adobe font library as well. So whatever is existing in your computer or font library, then that's what will show the different matches that might be similar to that font that you're looking for. And so you see here, there's a few I've already kind of downloaded, added to my list of fonts. And then I always like to make sure I take notes and write down what font was the one that I really liked, so that I can go back and then use that when I'm starting to develop the logo type itself. So here we have Interpol Correspondence Bold as one of those that I decided to add to the font library. And what's so cool about this is it will take ones that maybe aren't in your existing from Adobe the entire Adobe font library, that maybe you don't have some that are downloaded yet, and so then you can download it straight from that little box and add to your library, which I am a big fan of. I do this quite often when I'm trying to find a font to something that I saw and am inspired by. And so I was like, okay, let's look at this one. I like the organicness of those swooping ligatures. And so I thought, okay, is there anything in here that I could maybe like? And I think I ended up not really going with it because I wasn't really sure if that was the best for this project. But it's always fun to kind of keep going, looking and say, could I add something like this into it as well? So let's see. Okay, so we're going to move on to building out the logo type. And what I like to do is just type in the name of the project or the brand name. And so in this case, Only Home. So this is where you see me go back and search for those fonts I had chosen to download. I'll type them into the little search bar there and then start adding them in. Increase the size, make it a lot larger, easier to see. And then I also like to include a lot more like pretty much just copying the font over and over so I can see both the uppercase and the lowercase of the font and see which one I like to go with. So some projects I might do lowercase, some I might do uppercase. So it just depends. I like to play around with it. Again, this part of the process is very experimental. It's very much about trying to figure out all those ideas that you had on your kind of mood board or that you were sketching out. Okay, let's just kind of get these through. It may not be a pretty process, but it is pretty much an important process when it comes to experimenting with what's going to work best for the logo type. I want to share some awesome sites for font and typography resources. This first one's called FontShare, and oftentimes a lot of these offer for you to get these fonts for free, and you can download them. Sometimes you do need to read the license agreements to see if this is allowed commercial or personal use. And you can see here I chose to get Renade, a font from FontShare. Other great font sites are things like Adobe Font itself, which comes with the Creative Cloud if you have it. And then also this other site called Velveteen that allows you to get, and these are, what's cool about these is they're a little bit more funky, a little bit more kind of unique. And then, of course, Google Fonts is another great site to find free fonts that you can download. And oftentimes with Google Fonts, you can tell if you need it to be specific for web, for development, for to add it into a line of code. And then you can download it directly from there. And again, this is access to anybody. Just search Google Fonts and you'll find it. So here are just some sites that you can find fonts. And so I hope that helps. And that helps you guys with your projects as well. Okay, so I wanted to quickly kind of show you what I have updated. So I took the basic design that I had in Illustrator and I brought it into Procreate because I wanted to add more texture to the type. And then I brought that back into Illustrator. In Procreate, I actually brought in a squash flower, and that is the flower that I'm using for the logo. So it's part of pretty much the main primary, secondary logo. What's cool about it is it can go with or without that little the squash flower blossom icon, but I wanted to have that texture. So a little bit beforehand, I had worked a little bit of it into Photoshop, but I forgot to record that. And then here I have, we landed on a color palette. Oftentimes for color palettes, I just like to use Pinterest and then adding those colors to the different logo types that we have. And knowing that this can be very adaptive in the sense if it needs the top logo or not. We add the established in. We made up a date. And then, yeah, that's it. Okay, friends, here I am. I actually ended up changing the logo suite a little bit. So I included instead like a cabbage head for the primary. Secondary doesn't have anything, and then the third logo suite has the squash flower itself, and then the squash flower as the icon. And then I have here all the illustrations I did through Procreate. Then I adjusted them in Photoshop. I'll actually link a video that helps really be able to get those details still in from somebody I kind of saw on YouTube. And then we made that into a pattern. Included that color palette that I have, and then you can see here that pattern that I built. And then I'm gonna go ahead and click that pattern I built just to show you what that's like once you grab the rectangle tool, and there it is. So hope that helps. wanted to end today's video with resources for mockups that you can check out, but also the final mockups to Only Home. Wrapping up this project, please let me know if there are any specific questions you have, and I hope this helped you. Let me know in the comments of how and what projects you work on next, and I'll see you in the next video.